Alrighty. Hello, everybody. It is 11 o'clock, and we have folks just logging on now with us here. And so I'm going to ask everyone to go ahead and introduce themselves in the chat, just to let us know where you're from and what organization you're with, what state you're from, because we've had a lot of people joining us from all over the country in recent months. So we love to hear where everyone is from. I want to welcome you from the New England Federation of Humane Societies to RATS, a Squeak Peek of Mastering Rat Care Essentials. We're excited today to have Jessica Montano here with us from Mainly Rat Rescue. I'm going to go through just a few quick announcements, and then after that, we will jump right into things. So my name is Crystal Arnott. I'm on the board of the New England Federation of Humane Societies, and we want to just say thank you for coming out today. We also have Allison Bremer, who's another one of our advisors on our board for the New England Fed, helping us out in the chat today. So she will be collecting questions for us and sharing some links to some different things throughout the day. So keep an eye on the chat and put your questions there in the chat if you have them. We will have a question and answer period at the end of the webinar. So definitely put those questions in as you have them. We want to thank our sponsors, the ASPCA, HSUS, MSPCA, and the VCA for sponsoring us today, as well as a Possum partner, Save One Soul Animal Rescue. Without their support, we would not be able to put on these webinars, and we would definitely not be able to put on this annual conference that we have coming up next month. We would also like to share with you that we have new merch on our website. You can check out our merch at newenglandfed.org and then head to our Etsy shop, or you can go directly to the Etsy shop that we have listed here on the page. We have a great new logo that we debuted last year, and we're excited to see everyone wearing their Fed gear. We will have a limited amount in supply at the conference next month, but you can order yours early and come repping the Fed when you get there. I also do want to mention that we are recruiting for the advisory board right now. We would love for folks from rescue groups and shelters, animal control officers, and really anyone from any section of animal welfare to get involved with us. We really want all voices represented on the board for New England Federation of Humane Societies. It says humane societies, but it really isn't just about shelters. It's about us all coming together for the better of all of the animals. So please check us out. If you're going to be at the conference, come meet with us, grab a board member. We'll all have tags saying that we're board members on. So if you're interested, chat with us about it or stop by the merch table to learn more. It's really fun. It's a really great group of people, and it's an incredible way to really get involved and network with other people in the region and beyond. In addition to that, we have our conference coming up next month, March 18th to the 20th. We did move it to weekdays this year versus weekend. So that's going to be a Monday through a Tuesday. It's at the Crown Plaza in Warwick, Rhode Island. And early bird pricing ends this Sunday. So definitely get in there. There are options for 1, 2, and 3-day tickets, but come out for what you can. The conference program is posted on our website, so you can learn more about what we'll be offering. And again, it's a great way to learn more and network with other folks in the region. And then next up, we are excited to welcome Jessica Montano. Jessica has been involved in animal rescue since 2007, when she co-founded an animal welfare org called Bikers Against Animal Cruelty. Over the years, she's been active in dog and cat rescue, and in 2019, Jessica joined Mainly Rat Rescue as foster coordinator and a member of their board. She and her husband Mike live with rescue dogs, rats, and mice. They love educating the public on how amazing rats are and have done presentations at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, local schools, and have even participated in a documentary about rats. So just a reminder, place any questions that you might have in the chat for Jessica. And I'm going to turn things over to her now so that we can learn all about rat care essentials.
Good morning. Oops, I'm sorry. Just going to get you onto my screen here. See what we got going for today. Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy that you guys are here to talk about rats. It's probably my favorite topic in the world. I can talk about them for hours. And a lot of people, they're really misunderstood. A lot of people don't understand the care that it takes. So I was very, very happy when you guys reached out to ask us for some information. So here we are, rats. Happy Valentine's Day, a squeak peek of mastering rat care essentials in the shelter specifically. I was pretty happy when I was asked about this because I did actually rescue two rats from a local shelter here in Connecticut. And they had no idea what rat care, what they needed, what they ate, anything. So it kind of got my wheels spinning and feeling like I should probably get some more information out there to our local shelter. So this was a perfect fit. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All about rats. I know you guys love it, right? We're going to start off with our rat chat. Introduction to rats, real short. I'll keep it short because, as I said, I can talk about them for hours. They really are an excellent small pet to have. We call them pocket dogs. They're very friendly. They love to interact with their owners. A lot of people, when they think of rats, they think of the sewer rat, the pizza rat in New York, which is obviously a completely different animal. These are domesticated rats. And they have been bred as pets for a very long time. Unfortunately, because of the lack of information, sometimes we see a lot of rats being surrendered to our rescue and other shelters all over every day. We have an extensive waiting list right now at Mainly Rat Rescue. We are a foster-based rescue, and unfortunately, we have rats waiting for some time. And we do our best to place them in good homes and vetted homes. But they do, it seems like every time we place one, I'm sure you guys all can totally understand this. As soon as we place one, another one takes its spot on the waiting list. A lot of times we see these animals surrendered because they are prone to health issues. Now they have short lifespans, 2 to 3 years typically. A very common issue with them is respiratory issues, which is easily treated with antibiotics, but many people don't expect that if they're not educated about rat care. So they also can develop, they're prone to tumors, skin and eye issues. So it is a lot to take on in a short lifespan of an animal, 2 to 3 years. But in my opinion, the payoff is well worth it. They really are just friendly, loving animals. They know you, they understand their name, they come to you, they're easily trained. One of the best pets I've ever had in my life, and this is why I'm so adamant about going out and educating the public about them. But in the same manner, they can also not be very extreme. They're not all cuddly and friendly like you see on YouTube. If we do have some in care right now in foster care at Mainly Rat Rescue that were brought into a shelter in somewhere in New England. And the people there didn't know what to do, but by no fault of their own, they had no idea. They were not exposed to rats before. They did not handle a lot of rat cases. And the rats were placed and not really handled or interacted with or anything. So unfortunately, these rats are now in our foster care and probably won't be adoptable anytime soon. We have very experienced fosters in our homes that can work with this, but even they are having a bit of a hard time. So it's very important to socialize with these animals, just like cats or dogs, or mainly dogs, because if we don't take the time to do that, they will become unadoptable. And that's obviously the last thing that we want. Pocket dogs, that's what I always tell people about my rats. They are very similar to having dogs, which I also have in this house. We have a house full of rescue animals. They are very social animals. We typically, if we have a single rat come into the rescue, we are going to find him or her a friend. They do not do well alone. I mean, there are those rare cases, but they really do need the interaction of other rats. Oftentimes we'll have people contacting us to offer to foster for us because their own rats, they might have had two, one passed away, and now they have a singleton, and they're looking for some company for them. So they'll offer to foster for us, which is always a good thing to do because we know that they love and they're looking out for the best interest of their rat. Rats like to play with other rats. It's hilarious when they get the zoomies, just like dogs. They do like to play with people. We have an actual porch in our house that's dedicated to a rat playroom, and they will run around and chase us and jump on us, and just like little puppies. It's really amazing. They can also be housebroken. They can be trained to use a litter box. Most of mine are. I think I have 10 rats right now, and they are all doing really well in their litter box training, which is amazing. But it is important. But this is why it's so important that in a shelter environment, they get the love and attention that they need, just as any cat or dog would. Because they will do the same thing as dogs. They will regress, develop trust issues, and then you're just going to have these animals that are scared to death, and very unadoptable, which is not good for you or obviously for the animal. Okay, so basics. Now, when I lay out the basics on the housing here for rats and shelters, I do want you to know that I understand that many shelters are working with limited resources and volunteers. So trying to take that into consideration. This is just what we would ideally like to see. They're very different than mice and hamsters and gerbils because you can't just put them in a tank. If you keep a rat in a glass tank, they're going to develop respiratory issues. It's 99% chance it's going to happen. They need good ventilation. They need airflow. So we like to use a wired cage, typically less than 1 inch spacing. We do obviously have 1 inch spacing cages out there for the bigger rats, but rats can definitely squeeze through little spots. So if you have something like that, that would be ideal. We like to fill them with plenty of hides so they feel safe. They definitely need something to get into, a little shelter. It gives them a little confidence, a little security. Definitely one of the biggest things I use are soda and tissue boxes. Tissue boxes in this house are known as spaceships, rat spaceships. They like to take little rides in them, or maybe we like to give them little rides in them. But they do like them. They can chew them. They feel safe having their little spot to go to. It's also helpful if you need to move them and you're not having a very particularly friendly rat, or he's scared. If you can get him into a soda box and you need to move him, that's a good way to do it as well. For bedding, this is very, very important. We like to use, and I know this is the expensive part of housing. We like to use fleece, Carefresh, eco bedding, any kind of paper bedding. I've seen a lot of shelters, obviously they don't have a lot in stock, but they'll throw in towels or old t-shirts. This is a very bad idea because they don't have the give that fleece has, or paper. We've had rats pass away because they've chewed holes and not been able to get out and choked. Pine shavings, also cheap, great, grab it at the local pet store. Very bad for rats' respiratory systems. So we definitely just try to stick to fleece and or paper bedding if you can. Even, I'll take home shredded paper from my office. We have the big paper shredder there. They have the big bag at the end of the week to go to recycling, and I will take it home for my rats. They love to chew and shred. Now, this is very important in a cage for rats because if they are not busy, they are bored. And they're so smart that they need to be occupied. So paper towel tubes, toilet paper tubes, brown packaging paper, even a little cardboard box, whatever you have that they can chew, and it's inexpensive, they're going to love it. Any extras, hammocks are always huge. They like to snuggle and hang out in their hammocks. I have one behind me. Rope toys, I get dog rope toys from the dollar store. You just hang them, suspend them. It's just something else for them to climb on and keep them busy. So whatever you can, more is more inside a rat cage. They like to be busy. Chaos is good. And obviously we like to keep it clean. Here's a couple examples of some cages. This is called a Critter Nation. I would love for every shelter in the world to have one of these just on standby because it really is excellent just to be able to set up and have your rats go into. You can see this one has so many things for it to climb on and ropes. If you notice the little baskets on the doors, and over here, these are dollar store items. Take them, you grab the metal shower curtain hooks, and you can suspend anything. Those are the safest because they aren't going to chew through them. You can see the dog rope toy back here. This is definitely some, I think it's probably kiln dried bedding here. A lot of fleece. So just a lot of stuff for them to do. In the upper right corner is Charlie and Gus. They love their fleece. These are my personal rats that passed away last year, but they're awesome. They're little mainly rat rescue celebrities with their hammock and their basket and their fleece. And then just an example of, spaceships for the rats. We have the rat spaceships. Here they are. You can see they like to chew it. For some reason, they love that more than soda boxes, in my opinion. So just a couple examples. Busy is good. Nutrition. Okay, so this is a good one too, because rats need constant food. The food bowl should always be filled. They do eat between 10 and 20% of their body weight each day. Obviously, fresh water. We prefer water bottles as opposed to water bowls because they will definitely tip them. They'll drop food in them. They'll poop in them. It's just, they're fun. So always fill the bowls. Easiest thing to do and best food we recommend is Oxbow, if you can get it. Again, I know a lot of shelters are working with limited resources. We do not recommend any kind of like KT brands that you see at Pet Supplies. They have way too many fillers that are not good for the rats at all. But you can even do fresh fruits and vegetables. They love avocado, grapes, which was a hard one for me to get over because being a dog owner, you're just trained to know that grapes are bad for dogs. But rats really love them, especially if you're transporting somewhere. Grapes and cucumbers are good because it keeps them hydrated as well. Tomatoes and Cheerios are always a good mix to add into their food. Healthy, no sugar, and they love it. And as you can see in some of these pictures here, we're having some kiwi, some greens. I have a lot of owners that will make little gardens just for herb gardens for their rats to forage through, eggs, all that good stuff. So this is really the important part that I wanted to talk about because when I did rescue Charlie and Gus from the few slides back from the shelter, again, they were trying their best in the shelter. They just had not been exposed to rats. They had not taken them in before. Someone just dropped them there. So we know shelters are extremely busy and loud. Sometimes there's just no way around that. If you can find a place for the rats to be in just a little bit in a quieter spot, it'll definitely help. If you can't, that's totally fine. Just have some positive human interaction with them a few times a day. Go in. I know it sounds weird. A lot of people don't understand, but talking to them, spoon feeding with baby food or whipped cream or avocado, that's a very good trust building exercise. If you're nervous about them biting or whatever, it's just a good way to get in there and interact with them without you being nervous, because they're going to definitely sense your fear if you're nervous. Handling is totally up to your discretion. Now, we understand that rats are coming from all different kinds of backgrounds when they come into shelter. We don't know if they had socialization growing up or anything. So, obviously use your judgment. Never pick up a rat by its tail. And if you can, scoop from underneath. Handling is always great if you can do it. It helps with socialization and trusting. But, we completely understand that time and resources are limited in the shelter. So if you can combine all of these things with the proper nutrition, the proper housing, stuff to keep them busy, positive human interaction, all that stuff will definitely help increase your chances of adopting out these rats. And like this little cutie in the picture here, definitely is not afraid, would love to come out and visit you, and hopefully will help find them their happy forever home. And that's really it. This is just our Mainly Rat Rescue whole motto. We are a foster-based rescue, and we work out of New England. We definitely rely on our fosters. They are our lifeline. I see a lot of them logged in today. So hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We also work with guinea pigs, hamsters, gerbils, mice, but mainly we do focus on the rats. So anytime I can get out there to educate and help people understand what rats need, what they're really like, how awesome they are as pets, I'm going to do it. So hopefully this will pass on a little information to you all, shed a little light on what they need and how they act and how they're going to react and anything like that. If anybody has any more like in-depth questions, you can always reach out to us at Mainly Rat Rescue and we'll be happy to help. And that's really it for me. I didn't want to go into too much to completely overwhelm everybody, but hopefully you learned a little something today.
Thank you so much for that. I think we're waiting for some more questions to kind of come through the chat. Right now I have two, if you are open to start with some.
Sure, absolutely.
What are the best products for cleaning rat cages?
Okay, so cleaning rat cages, definitely, I've seen a lot of chemicals and things out there. I tend to avoid that. For me, it's hot water and vinegar. If you're going to wipe it down. If you use fleece, we would recommend washing the fleece in unscented, free and clear detergent. But definitely just hot water and vinegar. It's the safest way.
Fantastic, thank you. This is a good one. How would you counsel an adopter who has a resident rat with introducing a new rat to the home?
Oh yeah, that's huge. We were actually discussing that this morning. There's so many different ways to introduce rats. I am a proponent of slow and steady because I'm constantly having a flow of rats in my house. So always neutral territory. Never just throw them together. Daytime is always the better time to intro because they're a little sleepy. Like I said, neutral territory, slow intros one at a time. And you just take your time, use your discretion, use your common sense. If you're familiar with dog introductions, it's very similar, whereas they're going to establish their dominance. You kind of know when the fight's going to go too far. Sometimes they'll tussle or pin each other, but that's all part of it that you have to go. But obviously, if they're drawing blood, this is a bad thing. Let's get them apart. But yeah, definitely slow and steady, neutral areas. And we have a whole bunch of care documents and information documents about introductions as well.
Fantastic. And I did share your link a little bit earlier on in the chat. I can do it again at the end. I assume are those links like with your website?
Yes.
That information? Great.
Yep. Everything's in there. Yep.
Awesome.
We're in the process of updating everything. So we got a lot of information on our site.
Fantastic. Thank you. We were wondering if you could give us a little bit of a step-by-step on how do you litter box train rats?
Oh, one of our biggest questions. Okay, so I have learned over the years, for litter box training, I will put one on every level of the cage to start. We have litter boxes you can buy. We usually just use the Carefresh or yesterday's news type of litter, any kind of paper-based litter. Nothing that's going to be dusty, no cat litter, nothing like that. That's going to create dust because, again, respiratory issues. I will put a litter box on each level of the cage. If they use it, great. Sometimes they're going to go in a place other than a litter box, and you kind of let them tell you where they want to go. So if I notice that they're going in a different corner and that's the corner they're using, I'm going to move the litter box over there. And that's 9 times out of 10 for me personally, it has worked. Is it foolproof? Are they not going to poop everywhere else in the cage? No, they're going to. But definitely they learn that's where to go. It's amazing to me that they do that. You can also put just a rock from outside, wash it up, put it in the litter box. For some reason, they like to pee on rocks. So you kind of just put that with the litter box. Once someone goes in the litter box, they kind of just know that that's where to go. So for me, litter box on every level until I know that they can start showing me where they want to go, move the litter box to where they use it. And that's usually it. It works for me anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like with ferrets when you're litter box training them around the home.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Let me see here. Lainey asked if you mentioned that they could eat avocado, but we had a couple other responses to that. Just saying that, like, yes, they love avocado and it's great, but the skin and the seeds are poisonous Is that
correct?
okay? Cool. So
Yes,
just
I
like in
definitely should have
moderation.
pointed that out. It's funny because even now I'm pretty well experienced with rats. I still double check everything I'm going to feed them. I found out about avocado when I was having to medicate my rats for respiratory issues, and they were not taking their meds. So I was trying to figure out the best tasty thing to mix it in with, and avocado came up. Absolutely no seed, no skin. And obviously, even as a treat, we do it sparingly because it is obviously highly fattening. If we have older rats or, unhealthy rats, we're trying to get a little weight on them, definitely go with the avocado. But it's more of a treat if we're trying to, bribe them into coming out of their hide, or we're trying to work with them to say, hey, you know what? We bring you good things. We're people. We'll do the avocado, but absolutely double check anything you're going to feed the rats because you just never know. Sometimes there's just odd things with the food.
Awesome. That actually leads us into another question that Kane was wondering if you have any resources you recommend about safe and unsafe foods for rats.
Yes, we actually have. There's tons of information online, but there's so much contradictory information online, which I suppose is true about anything on the internet. But we do have some nutrition documents and information that in links on our website that we can share. Um, it's just funny because, again, being a dog person, it took me a while to get used to what they can eat and what they can't eat as far as like the grapes, and they can have chocolate occasionally, that type of thing. So there are resources out there. We have definitely a few recommended websites that we can share through our website to give you ideas on what to give them and what not to give them.
Awesome. Still on the topic of diet, we had a question probably about the photo you shared with your with the rat eating some egg. Is protein a necessity in their diet?
It is, but as they get older, less. So we actually supplement our young rats, babies. We feed them we recommend the Oxbow adult, but it doesn't have as much protein because older rats don't need that much. So with babies, they do need more protein. So we will supplement with eggs, anything like that when they're younger. As they get older, lower protein, it's not as good for them. The actual percentage is escaping me at the moment, but again, provided with information on our website.
Awesome. And again, I'm happy to share that link again to your website at the end of this. So David was wondering, he has a very shy boy. He says he scoops him up and air quote forces him to be petted. Is this an okay thing to do when looking at socialization?
Yeah, socialization with people. Okay, so I'm assuming that's what he means.
Yeah.
So here is the tricky part with the rats. You don't ever want to force them to do anything for a long time because they're just going to get scared and afraid. Personally, with me, I will scoop if they're afraid. I will hold them close to my body for as long as they'll tolerate it, which is usually not too long. I mean, it's so funny because a lot of our adopters and fosters are like, oh, he doesn't want to be held. I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of rats out there that love being cuddled and held. They just don't love it. So they'll climb on you. They'll love that, but they don't want to be held and restricted into one spot. That's just natural for a rat, I think. So scooping, holding close to your body, nice little calm pets, talking nicely, and then putting him back gently to where he is. Kind of just shows him that, hey, you can come to me. I'm going to hold you. Nothing bad's going to happen. And I'm going to put you back to your safe place. That usually works for me. I try and do it a little bit longer each time just to show them and pet them. If you're approaching a scared rat in the cage, I always make sure they can see my hands coming towards them, talk to them. I want them to hear me and see me so they're not surprised because rats have very bad vision, especially the pews, which are the pink-eyed whites. So if you ever see a rat, bobbing and weaving its head, it's because it can't see and it's trying to focus. A lot of times we'll get people saying, oh, these rats bite because they can't see. They don't see you coming and they're startled. So again, getting back to the question, let them know you're coming, do a small gentle scoop, hold, talk, pet, and bring it back. I would not force a rat to stay with you longer than it's comfortable.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. He was also wondering about like bathing them. Is it okay to bathe rats? Do we need to bathe them?
Okay, so typically we don't recommend it. It can definitely dry their skin out. And they're very clean in their own. occasionally, like I've had rats come to me that were stray and they were outside, domestic rat. Yeah, of course I'm going to give it a little bath. So I would definitely use, I think I used a very gentle, free and clear soap, very quick. They don't love it. Some rats love water, but most of mine for baths, no. So if you really absolutely have to, because the rat is just disgusting, of course you can, but very gentle soaps or just warm water. Maybe like even a sponge bath sometimes will work. But it's definitely not something we need to do regularly at all. They are very clean animals. They groom constantly. And we don't want to dry out their skin either.
Of course. All right. Thank you so much. I think we have a couple more. Going back to litter box training, we were wondering if you can put food holders near the litter box for litter training similar to rabbits.
I'm sorry, can you put what?
Can you put their food bowls or food holders like near the litter box?
Oh yeah. I mean,
training?
I do. Just I don't purposely do that. Just sometimes that's just the way the cage setups, but I've never seen it be a deterrent or affect them in any bad way. They don't go in the food dish or anything like that. Or no, I think it's fine. There's no issue there.
Great. Awesome. We have a question that can you share any guidelines for volunteer interaction with shelter rats during daily cleaning care to reduce bite incidents?
Yes, I think I touched upon that like a little bit in the presentation. Was definitely positive interaction with humans every day. We don't want to force it. We don't want to grab them out of the cage, but going over and just interacting with them every day, a few times a day, talking to them. Cleaning is going to be tricky because I understand, like for me, I have a place I can put my rats and put them out while I'm cleaning their cage. A lot of people don't have that luxury. So you want to be careful when reaching into a cage, especially if you don't know the rat or we don't know the background it came from. Definitely slow and steady, no fast movements. Again, I would clean. I clean every other day. You want to do a spot cleaning every day if you can. Full cleanings every few days at the minimum. And going in and just talking to them and doing the spoon feeding, offering treats. I mean, my husband and I always say, like, we're bribing them, but that's what they need to associate something positive with humans. So if you can do that a couple times a day to get in there and just hang out with them, it definitely pays off because they're going to be used to people. When anybody wants to come adopt and see them, they're going to hopefully see a well-socialized friendly rat coming to the cage because they're like used to you coming to the cage to feed them. They're going to come right and they're going to wait for you at the door. They're not stupid animals by any means. So as much interaction as possible that you're comfortable with. Handling, again, up to your discretion. You really need to understand the rat's background and what the rat is comfortable with, but as much interaction as possible.
Awesome. This next question, I actually have a question about the question, so maybe you can enlighten us on both.
Okay.
Don wants to know, what about rats that have heavy buck grease? Should you bathe? So my question is, what is buck grease for us?
Okay, so buck grease, yes. So that's funny because I didn't know that when I first started too. Buck grease is for an intact male rat. It's just it's a hormone that they produce in their skin. It's brown, it's oily. And it's just sometimes people will mistake it for like being dirty or mites or something like that. But it's definitely not. It's totally natural. We do not recommend bathing to try and get it off. Again, it's natural. It's good for their skin and their coat. It's just part of who they are. I've never found it to be particularly a bad scent or anything like that. Some people say that. But it's just part of having an intact male rat. So you can always neuter to reduce that if you have it, but we do not recommend bathing to try and get that off. It's natural.
Thank you. That's great. Question about the rope toys. Should we worry about the rope splitting? Should we use fleece ropes?
Yeah, that's back and forth. I just keep an eye on it. Honestly, common sense, monitor it. If they're chewing on it constantly, you probably may mean that's not the best suited toy for your rat cage. Mine particularly never have bothered it. They just climb on it. They use it just as a way of getting to the other side of the cage. I stay away from the nylon ropes. So if you can, but obviously just use your common sense. If you see that they're chewing it, you know, we don't want to risk any choking or anything like that. So typically I've not run into that, but you never know with rats. They will do what they want to do.
Awesome. Okay, and I think I see one more right now. Other than upper respiratory infection, are there other medical conditions or parasites that we should watch for? And what is the recommendation for veterinary care? Like annual visits, are they necessary?
Okay, so that's an excellent question. So obviously tumors are huge in rats, especially female rats if they're not spayed. So typically, if you can spay your female rat at a young age, you're going to reduce its chances of getting tumors dramatically. It can still happen, obviously, but it definitely helps. As far as the respiratory things, again, there's a lot of measures you can take. Don't put them in a tank. Don't use the pine shavings. Well ventilated cage. But if they do occur, they are easily treated. You can get some antibiotics from your vet. Parasites, very common in rats, is mites. We'll see that a lot, and they'll be itching. What's important to note about the mites in rats and a few other parasites is that they are species specific. So it's not like they're going to jump to you or your cat or your dog or anything else in your house. So if you do have one with mites, it's really just causing an inconvenience for the poor rat. So you can easily treat that with this dog or cat revolution, which you can get from your vet if these are your personal pets. So that's something important to keep in mind. A lot of people think that they can catch things from their rats, but no. As far as annual checkups, it's really up to you as an owner. Typically, they don't need it like a dog because they don't need to get shots or anything like that. It's really just about monitoring your animal, monitoring your rat. We call it the health check every day, picking them up, checking them out, because one thing about rats is they can develop the weirdest things overnight. I'm sure a lot of you can sympathize with that. So we always recommend just checking them over top to bottom every day. We call it a telephone. We hold them up to our ear, as Jamie, one of our volunteers, says, to listen to their breathing, to make sure everything's good. And that's really it. It's really up to your discretion if you want to do annual visits.
Awesome. Let me see here. Sorry, there's a little bit of chitter chatter going on about
No worries.
Tech Lad food blocks, which has been very interesting. And a link was shared in the chat as well as how to order that from a shelter out in California.
Yeah, unfortunately, at least here, it's been harder. We used to have that and sell it.
Yeah.
It's really one of the best things to feed your rat, and they love it. But it's been harder and harder to get. So that's why we've switched over to recommending to Oxbow most of the time. But yeah, if you can find the Envigo TechLed blocks, you need to go by. They do have certain levels of protein for their age. But unfortunately, it's more and more difficult to find in here. I think you can get some on Amazon through some third-party distributor, but it's definitely something we recommend if you can get it.
Awesome. Yeah, this looks like it's a link through like a small animal shelter out in the West.
Yep.
So like it also benefits the shelter, which is great information. Thank you for sharing, Lisa, in the chat there. So we have another question. Do you have any information or resources on low cost spay and neuter services for rats?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because we know that it can be expensive. And that's another reason that people they don't understand. They go into it thinking, oh, it's just a rat, it's just a small little animal, but they can be, it's definitely a financial commitment. And that's one of the things we look at, and make sure our doctors are aware of. Low cost spay neuter, unfortunately it's not like a dog service or dog or cat where they have the clinics all around. Best thing I can say is to call around because prices vary greatly, even in different states. Down here in Connecticut, spay and neuter prices are definitely higher than up in Mass and New Hampshire. So I wish I had a really good answer for that. I don't. But definitely do your research, call around, and see where you can get the best price because it really does vary.
Awesome. What do you recommend as far as rats with other pets, dogs, like example, dogs and cats? Keep them in another room and separate at all times?
This is such a it's a good question because there's really no absolutes when it comes to this one, but I also have dogs. So it really, I don't want to ever want to highly recommend, okay, hey, try and introduce your dog to your rats or your cats to your rats, because it could end disastrously. And I've heard of horror stories. Clearly, if you know your animals, okay, like occasionally you'll see the cage behind me. A dog will come in, and my rats are not scared of my dogs. They are up at the bars and they're like, hey, what's up? I think they're just used to the noises and the smells in my house. Are they allowed? The dogs are not allowed when I'm not present, and it's really only for a short period of time. I've had a few rats, like occasionally, that really love my Charlie rat. He was my heart rat. He loved my dogs and he would hang out with them. But that's rare. I definitely don't recommend that, because all animals are just that. They're animals and they're unpredictable. It doesn't mean that if you have cats or dogs, you can't have rats. It just means use your discretion, use your common sense, read your animals, see what vibes they're giving off. If a rat is petrified that there's a dog or a cat in the room, don't let the dog or the cat in the room. Just make sure that there's a safe space for your rats to always have.
Awesome. All right, let me see. This one's a good one. Can you speak about some of the specific care that might happen for a Sphinx or hairless rat, and if they have any unique husbandry needs?
So this, I have to admit, I've never had one, so I'm only going by what I've learned through passing them on through our fosters. They do require a different a little bit of different care than regular rats. I know they are more prone to eye and skin issues, obviously, because they don't have any fur. It's not to the point where it's so different that you need to have a completely different setup or anything like that. And they can live with other rats. It's all good. But it's just prone to a little bit more issues health wise that you need to be aware of and keep an eye on while you have them.
Great, thank you. I wonder if the hairless rats, similar to like the hairless cats, require like bathing versus when.
I wish, I have to say I'm ignorant when it comes to that subject. I probably should have read up a little bit on it, but not had one yet. It'll happen. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Okay. Evelyn is asking about rat sociability with other rats. Evelyn, we did speak about how it's recommended to have more than one rat because they like to be in groups. But she is wondering if it's okay if they could be on their own. So maybe you could speak a little bit on like those circumstances when there is a single rat.
Well, I mean, occasionally we've had rats that just don't like other rats. We've had experienced fosters and adopters trying to introduce them to other rats. It actually just took me 4 months to introduce a couple of my rats, but it was slow and steady. It was actually did cross my mind that one of them was just not going to like other rats. But typically, I mean, if that happens, you'll know. It's hard to explain, but I guess if you have a single rat, you need to make sure that you're spending a lot of time with him or her, one-on-one, have them out of the cage. It's just not an animal by any means, solo or together, that you just throw in a cage and feed it every day and walk away. So especially if you have a solo rat. But again, it's really just because if the rat is ill or he just does not like other rats at all, and you've tried every opportunity, then that would probably be the only way that we would look at it, that we would like to see a rat solo. But 9 times out of 10, if we have a single rat coming in on the intake sheet, we are like frantically searching for a group that they can join. And we've even had single rats who don't know how to rat, we call it, because they have not, an owner might not have known that it needed friends. So it's coming into the rescue after being solo its whole life, but it's open to meeting other rats. So what we do, but doesn't know how to rat. So we kind of will try and place them with friendly rats to show them. They really do learn from each other on how to act and how to trust people and things like that. But honestly, we don't recommend solo rat. If it has to happen, we totally understand that it does. But yeah, a lot of interaction is key in that case.
Okay, I think that looks
Awesome.
like all
Yeah.
of our questions. Were there any others, Allison?
I was just looking. I don't think I missed any. I was gonna give like a last call for questions, but otherwise, I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
I just wanted to say, if anybody has any questions, I probably should have put my email in here somewhere, but maybe you guys can pass that on. I'm always happy to help educate, answer questions, anything like that to help these little guys in the shelter.
Okay. Well, this was fantastic, Jessica. Thank you so much. You're so knowledgeable, and um, I just you answered all my questions. And I've owned rats before, so it's fantastic. I
Awesome.
learned a lot. I want to we can go ahead and send out this recording probably tomorrow. It'll go out to everyone so that you can look back and watch it. And it'll also be available on our YouTube channel, the New England Federation of Humane Society's YouTube channel. So feel free to log in and check that out and share this. I know personally I'll be sharing this video with my staff and also any new staff and volunteers that come on to make sure that they have all the information they need. I also want to remind everybody that our conference again is next month. If you didn't log in earlier today, it's the early bird ticket does end this Sunday, the 18th of February. So make sure you register for the conference and get that early bird discount. And if you're interested in joining our board, whatever rescue, shelter, animal control, advocate, join us. We love to have various people on the board to have all the different perspectives that we need to really make sure that we are doing what we can for the animals in our community. So thank you all. Thank you for coming, and we will see you hopefully at the Fed next month. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you
Bye
very
now.
much, everybody. Have a good one. Happy Valentine's Day.